Right, thanks everyone for waiting. My name is Yusuf. I'm part of the SUSS Venture Builder Startup Program. So we actually build an AI over here to help people find clarity on the career goal. So at some point in time, you might be wondering like whether a certain career will be suitable to you. Is this something that you should do? Certain industry that you want to join, or maybe you are thinking about switching career, for example. Initially, we built this for students, but actually anyone who is thinking about, let's say, career switches, or let's say, how you want to upskill yourself, you may want to try this. Okay, I'll share with you how it works. But why we come to this AI, why we build this AI? Because we have been hearing a lot of this problem statement, right, about burnout. We heard a lot of things about burnout everywhere, and especially nowadays, things are moving very fast with the AI and everything. And there is a lot of disengagement level at the workplace, which actually costs organization and the country a lot of money to retrain people, hire people, and so on. And then the newer generation, Gen Z, a lot of people are starting to not believe education system because the things are moving very fast today. And how can, for example, university catch up with what the world requires today? So there are a lot of people who are looking elsewhere to learn things. But if we look at all these problem statements, if we boil down all these problem statements, what are people looking for actually? People are looking for better pay, better feasibility, better recognition, basically better career in general to make a better life. But then if we drill down further, what's the problem statement? Actually, maybe a lot of this problem is actually because of the misalignment, wrong people on the wrong place or on the wrong time. Right? So we want to look at this problem and look at, can we solve this? Right? And one thing that we are always asking people, for example, we hear a lot of people are burnt out, quiet quitting, and so on, right? People are declaring that. But the biggest question I always ask them is that, why haven't you quit? If you don't like your job, if you don't like your career, why haven't you quit, right? And usually, if we look further, the reason is because of this sunk cost fallacy. Because you have invested a lot of your time, a lot of your money in this career, and you're worried that if you switch to another job, another career, will it be better? Will the investment worth it, right? Because you have put a lot of effort in it, build your network, build your reputation, and so on. Now, a lot of time, we don't dare to take the next step because we don't know what's going to happen. We fear something, right? We fear because we don't have enough data. What can we do? What the market requires? How are we supposed to do it? Right? But what if we flip the script? Instead of fear, what if we have the data? What if we know what to do? What if we know where to go? Right? If we have this data, wouldn't that we'll be more confident and we'll be more willing to take the next step, right? Now, this is what we are offering over here. So what we built over here is what we call as Mimicry AI. This is literally the URL, Mimicry AI. You can try later. I will show you the demo a little bit later on how you can use it and how it will work to help you find better clarity about what you can do, your strength, and potentially even like what kind of industry or career that you can do. Right? But first thing first, I'll just show you a few screenshots of how our system works. So the first step is that we want to understand yourself. Now, if we look at a lot of tools out there, typically we talk about the personality assessment tool. We are not a personality assessment company, but we like to use that personality assessment data and we go deeper to understand what's your profile, what's your trait, what's your strength, and what you can do, right? And then here's our secret sauce. So after we know your trait, your strength, we can actually try to find someone successful out there that is actually similar to you. So let's say you're very creative, you're very analytical, you have leadership trait. Can we find someone out there who are actually similar to you? Because what we believe is that if this person is similar to you and they can be successful out there, maybe you can too. Just follow their footsteps. They have a proven recipe how to be successful, right? And we can actually help you to build your career plan. So think of it like, what are the building blocks that you need to actually build your skills, your experience? So we can actually use AI to actually do the recommendation, right? Let's say if you want to become like someone, let's say you want to become like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, for example, what are the steps that you can take to become like this person? But of course, we are not guaranteeing that you can become like the next richest person in the world. Right? We cannot guarantee that because that depends on your effort. If you're willing to put in the Elon Musk hour, sure, maybe, why not, right? But that's on you. So how we do this is that we actually break down the whole understanding about yourself. Right? We look at your personality traits, your interests, your skills, your experience, your background, right? And we try to see that we actually accumulated about 20,000 profile of successful people, and we try to distill it into about 1,000 plus job role out there, and what we call it as a job personality. What are the important traits, characteristics, interest, passion, motivation that makes a certain job profile? So what you see over here is, for example, if you want to become a doctor, average doctor, right? What does a doctor typically need? For example, you need some patience, problem solving, discipline, adaptability, and so on. So we understand that profile in our system. And then what if you want to be a singer? What do you need? Maybe you need some creativity, in fact, a lot of creativity, originality, right? Persistence, good communication, open-minded, and so on. Right? Of course, everyone still need to develop your skill. You may have talent. You still need to have your skills and experience to become good. Or in fact, if you want to be like the top 10, the super performer, you'll need to put in a lot more hours, okay? Now, so with that, we actually accumulated about 1,300 job personality out there. We have actually curated. We try to understand for each of the job role out there, what are the key strengths, traits that are required to do this job, right? Sorry, any question or? No, okay. I just want to share a little bit of story, and this is my own story when I use our own AI. So we actually built and launched our AI about 2 months back. So I was testing it on myself and to see whether my story is correct. Now, if you look at the building block of me down here, what the AI actually understand about me as myself. So a bit of my background. I've been 23 years in the IT industry. I've been building a lot of software, website, mobile apps. So I was basically a tech person for the last 20 plus years. Right? So I was very behind the scene. And for the last 2 years, I started to come out to start my own business, starting to go into entrepreneurship. And that is because I see myself as potential as entrepreneur. Right? I see myself that, hey, there are actually entrepreneurs out there similar to me and they've been successful. So maybe I should try it. And that's what prompted me to switch to entrepreneurship. But very interesting is that I also see a few other traits like filmmaking. Very interesting. So the AI actually recommend me to become a filmmaker. But actually, I have interest in photography and videography. I did take course, but that stays as a hobby to me. Not something that I want to pursue as a career, but at least the AI actually can figure out that, hey, maybe I can do videography, for example. One thing that I want to highlight, physicists. So back then in my school time, secondary, I was doing pretty okay, above average for physics. But comparing, when I go to my university, comparing physics and computer, back then there was like 20 plus years when personal computers started to get very popular. So I decided to go into computer science rather than physics. But here's the interesting part. We believe that everyone can do a lot of different roles, right? You are not just here to become like a doctor, a single role, a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer, and so on. You actually can do a lot of different things. The question is which one you like to do most. That's for you to choose. Over here, our AI can show you multiple options. And this is where we want to help students or young working professionals that instead of looking at a few thousand of jobs out there, we filter down to the 10 that you most likely can do. And we can guide you along the way. Maybe you look at the blueprint of the successful people, how you can become them. And from that, we hope that you can become successful one day. So that's what we are trying to aim. And maybe I'll just show you a bit of demo of the system itself. Okay, so this is my, sorry. Okay, so this is my own profile. So when you go to the system, you can see, sorry, I think it's the resolution. Resolution is a bit off. So, but you can see some of the info over here. So these are the roles recommended to me, as what I've shared earlier. But if you go to the system, there is a guided approach where you need to, for example, submit a few data about yourself. Right? So based on the data that you give, the AI can try to understand what are your profile. You can try to create a story about yourself, what you can do, what's your strength, and so on. And then we have a few more coaching way of trying to understand what you want to become. Tell us a story about yourself, understand about your value, your purpose, and so on. And we try to collect as many data from you as possible. That's how we can understand your traits, your strengths, your preference, your interests, and so on. Right? So once you have sent all this data, I'm not going to regenerate because it's going to take a while to generate. Then you can see who are the successful similar to you. Right? So with this, hopefully when you look at the story of all these people, you can see what is the common theme of these people. And you can look at each of the profile. So let's say you scroll down further, you can see, for example, between me and Steve Jobs, we are similar as inventor, 98%. That's why I'm doing startup. That's how I was convinced to do startup, right? Yes.
Your site shows astrology and MBTI.
Okay. Yes.
Only on based on this?
That's the correct site. So the secret sauce that we have, remember earlier I mentioned to you that we want to collect your data as much as possible. And the tool that we use is also the personality data. Now, we use like the MBTI to collect your, what we call like the Western way of collecting your data, right? Your interests, right? MBTI collect your interests and preferences. We need that. But if you believe in astrology, we also have a technique to understand your character based on astrology. So basically, only based on your date of birth, we can start to guess who you are. But the thing is now, okay, don't just use one tool. We want you to use two tools, ideally, so that we can actually analyze your data further. Between astrology and MBTI, is there any commonality? That's what we want to see.
So the MBTI, I noticed that we selected ourselves, so we must get an assessment elsewhere.
Yes, correct. Because we are not the owner of the test.
And MBTI fluctuates. It's not stable.
Not exactly. So if you go through a proper consultant to do it, they will explain to you that there's a certain condition like how you are going to do it, because it shouldn't change a lot because it reflects your own interests. It shouldn't change a lot. Maybe it changes a bit, but that is how you do your certain way preferences. There's a difference if you do it, let's say, for your personal versus for your career. So you need to see the condition on when you take the test. Do you take it for your personal or do you take it for work? I'm actually a MBTI certified. Yeah, so I can administer for people.
Joey Yap for the astrology part.
Yep. Do you know Joey Yap? So it's trusted source. He actually has 1 million+ students. So his technique is a trusted technique. Although Eastern way, it is not like fully researched. There's no paper or whatsoever. It's more like based on the people's belief. So we don't force the belief to people. We want you to, eventually we are going to add more personality assessment. So we have planned to add like the Big 5, strong inventory, and so on. And with all this data, eventually we can understand yourself better. I have limited time. Maybe can I take a few questions? 1, 2 questions? Okay, one more question. All right, okay, yep.
One quick question is, do you think that only certain MBTI can do that job? So for example, for lawyer, only a few MBTI can become a lawyer?
Very good question. So MBTI and other personality assessment, they will recommend a very generic job. They will tell you that this type can become doctor, but based on the data, usually they will recommend because of the generally, maybe 80% of population become doctor. How about the other 20%? The other 20% is what we are going to show you in our system. So all these successful people that you're seeing, these are the people that are top in their industry. They are the top 1%, 10% in the industry that MBTI doesn't cover. That is our difference from MBTI. MBTI cover at a generic level. We cover to the down to the successful people level. Who is that one person similar to you? Right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.